Alkyl halides. Now this is an important chapter because alkyl halides are a precursor to many other organic compounds. I can convert the alkyl halides into the compound of interest with other functional groups. Now what are alkyl halides? Compounds where there is a direct halogen carbon bond is called an alkyl halide, and there are two types. You can classify them broadly. One is your haloalkane, the other one is haloarene, depending on whether the halogen is attached to a carbon which is part of the aromatic functional group. Now we can classify them broadly into, let me first write, this is the basic way of writing an alkyl halide, Rx. Now I can have the X attached to a carbon that's not attached to any other ring. So I can call it alkyl halide or haloalkane. Now I can have the carbon that the X is attached part of a ring that is aromatic. So this is called an aryl halide, whereas this is an alkyl halide. And there is one more which is intermediate between the two, where the carbon is attached to an halogen, and in that molecule somewhere I have an aromatic ring. So these are aromatic halides. Now what's the difference between these two? An aryl halide is strictly when the halogen is attached to the ring itself, whereas an aromatic halide is something where it's an alkyl halide, because this is an alkyl halide, carbon attached to X and the carbon is not part of the ring. So it's an alkyl halide where in that molecule there is some way there is an aromatic ring. So that is an aromatic compound itself. The other thing that you want to know is the degree of alkyl halide, 1 degree, 2 degree and 3 degree. And 1 degree alkyl halide is something where the halogen is attached to a carbon that is attached to only hydrogens or one other carbon. If it's attached to only hydrogen, you will call methyl, or you can attach to only one more carbon, that is ethyl or propyl, so on and so forth. But this carbon that is attached to the X is attached to only one carbon, not more. Whereas this 2 degree or a secondary alkyl halide is an halide atom attached to a carbon that is attached to two different carbon atoms. And a 3 degree is pretty simple. The halogen is attached to a carbon that is attached to 3 different carbon atoms. This is going to play a role in terms of their reactivity. The other thing that you can know is, now that I know my alkyl halide, aryl halide and aromatic halide, we can also specify a few other things. One, we can call it as benzylic. Benzylic is strictly when there is a benzene ring and a C. So it looks like a toluene, and a carbon that is outside the ring attached to the ring, but that is outside, is attached to a halide. This is called a benzylic, and benzylic is something important because if this X goes, you get a positive here, meaning a benzylic carbocation, stable one. So benzylic is a special type. The other one you want to know is allylic. Allylic is when you have a halogen attached to a carbon that is attached to a vinyl group. This is a vinyl group, this whole thing is an allyl group. So when you see this X, it is attached to a carbon that is attached to a C double bond. So this is actually an allylic group because this is going to play a role. If this X goes away as X minus, I get a positive here, it becomes an allylic carbocation, stable. So you want to know allylic. The other one that you want to know is vinylic. Vinylic is nothing but a halogen attached to a carbon that has a double bond. So this is a vinylic halogen or vinylic halide. So this is another way of classifying them. All of them are different ways of understanding the same. The other one that you can do is, I can have not just one halide, I can have more than one halide. So you can call it monohalide, dihalide, trihalide, so on and so forth. Now we are going to look specifically at dihalide. The dihalide can be attached to neighboring carbons or attached to same carbons. If it's attached to neighboring carbons, this is called vicinal, in the vicinity. So this is vicinal dihalide, this is geminal dihalide. Okay, vicinal and geminal. Now vicinal is also called Maybe I'll write it in a different color. Alkyl halide. This is alkylidene halide. It's easy to remember this actually as an example. Imagine that these X, instead of X you have OH and OH, you would call ethylene glycol. Similarly, this would be ethylene. Alkyl is ethylene dihalide. Now, when I say ethylene, I don't have to say the word dihalide. It is understood that it is a vicinal. So, if this is chlorine and chlorine, I would say ethylene chloride. You don't say ethylene diol, right? It is understood. Similarly, ethylene chloride is understood. Similarly, if I have a carbon here, I say ethylidene halide. Ethylidene chloride, meaning it is 2 chlorine. It is understood. So this is another way of classifying halides. Now, this is going to play an important role in terms of substitution reactions later. Naming of alkyl halides. Now, when it comes to naming, there are two types of naming. One is the common name and one is the IUPAC name. When it comes to common name, you just call them alkyl halide. But when it comes to IUPAC, you don't end with a halide because halogens don't get preference in IUPAC listing. Halogens are actually the least priority among all. So, you actually name them as haloalkanes. For example, if you take this example, you would say chloroethane, whereas this is IUPAC name, whereas common name would be ethyl chloride. So, this is the basic difference between a common name and an IUPAC name. Common names are commonly used for reactions, but when the question specifically asks for IUPAC, you should be able to say it. Now, similarly, when you take an aryl halide, this is simple, chlorobenzene. Now, we can actually have something like this. So, then I have to say this can be metachlorobenzene, but the concept of ortho, meta and para, okay, they stand for common names but not IUPAC name. In IUPAC name we like to use numbering. So, this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3. So, this will be, this is meta dichlorobenzene, 1,3 dichlorobenzene. So, this numbering, so if it were here 1,2, 1,4, so on and so forth. So, if you have one more chlorine here, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, 1,3, 5 trichlorobenzene. That's how you are going to name it. Similarly, when we take this molecule, the common name for this would be, we just saw that it is going to be vicinal. So, this is a Wick dihalide. So, we can call it ethylene chloride. This is the common name. But when it comes to IUPAC, obviously I cannot end it with a chloride. It has to be a haloalkane. So, it is 1,2 dichloroethane. If the two chlorines are right here in this carbon, then we would say ethylidene chloride, but it would have been 1,1 dichloroethane. We can go to something like this now. So, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So, that is but, and this group common name is isobutyl. So, I can say isobutyl chloride, but iso is not IUPAC. So, hence I have to look into numbering. 3 carbons, the longest chain, and this carbon is given numbering 1 because chlorine will get the lowest numbering. So, it is going to be 1 chloro and 2 methyl. 1 chloro, 2 methyl, and my longest chain is prop. So, propane. Now, I name my chloro before methyl not because of 1 before 2, it is because C before M. The numbers do not matter, they don't have to be sequential, but my alphabetical order has to be maintained. So, it is 1 chloro, 2 methyl propane. For example, if I were to have a bromine here, let us just say Cl Br. So I would have 1 chloro, 2 bromo, propane, or 2 bromo, 1 chloro, propane. Only one of them can be correct. Obviously, I don't care about my number, I care about my alphabetical order. So B before C, so this is correct, this is wrong. So this is the way you will do your IUPAC naming. The last one that we are going to see is CCl4. The common name for this is carbon tetrachloride, but you don't end with a chloride in IUPAC. This is actually written as tetrachloro, and there is only one carbon, so that is methane. So tetrachloromethane. That's the way IUPAC is going to work. We have seen the IUPAC naming now. Now what about the isomerisms in alkyl halide or haloalkanes? Now alkyl halides cannot show functional isomerism. They cannot show any other isomerism except just 3 of them. The ones that it is going to show is positional isomerism. I can change the position of where the chlorine atom is or halide atom is. For example, I can have this versus this. So these two are positional isomers. So here I would say the longest chain is prop. Now this is 1 chloropropane, whereas this is 2 chloropropane. So this is positional isomers. Now I can also have, so this is positional. I can also have chain isomerism possible with alkyl halides. Example, I can have this, I can have this, I can have this. So this is going to be, a common name would be N-butyl chloride, normal butyl chloride, common name. But if you want IUPAC name, I would say 1-chlorobutane. When I go here, common name would be isobutyl chloride. Maybe we can write down N-butyl chloride. IUPAC for this would be 1-chlorobutane. When I go here, I can say it is isobutyl chloride, whereas when I go to my IUPAC, my longest chain is this. However, you see the longest chain is this. I would not take this chain because this chain at least has my chloride in there. So I go for my longest chain, prop, and I have 1-chloro-2-methyl. Methyl propane. Now when I go here, this is very simple. This is going to be tertiary butyl chloride. When I go to my longest chain, I want my carbon atoms to be long. So this is 3, whereas this is just 2. So this is easier. 1, 2, 2-chloro-2-methyl. Propane. So now you can see that these are chain isomers because the chain is different. Now these two can be also be, when you see the position of chlorine atom is different. So these two are positional isomers. This and this is chain isomer, this and this is chain isomer. But the common names actually show that they are different. But IUPAC name tells you what type of isomer they are. So now I told you positional isomer is possible, chain isomer is possible. There is only one other isomer that is possible. It's optical isomer, and that's pretty simple. If you have, for example, a carbon attached to 4 different groups, then it will be asymmetric carbon. We have seen that before. And if it happens to be a carbon-chlorine bond, it is going to be in compound with asymmetric carbon and an alkyl halide. So it is possible. That we will deal with separately. We have already seen optical isomerism. So these are the only 3 isomerism possible by alkyl halides. As with all chapters in organic chemistry, we will always go through a certain order. You will see preparation, properties, and then chemical properties, and then uses. Now first we will look into preparation of alkyl halides. Alkyl halides can be prepared by free radical mechanism, they can be prepared by electrophilic substitution reaction and also nucleophilic substitution reaction depending on what reagents you use. Let's first go into free radical mechanism. You can prepare your alkyl halides from your alkanes plus the corresponding halogen that you want in presence of sunlight. So when you do this, the free radical mechanism gives you the corresponding products. There are obviously conditions with what type of products I can get. In general, what all do you want to know is, this proceeds through a free radical mechanism, meaning it is going to go through all the possible free radicals that are possible by the given alkane, and the most stable free radical is going to give you the majority of the product. So that tells you that the reactivity order is going to be allylic greater than 3 degree greater than 2 degree greater than 1 degree. For example, if we take this compound, let's even take this. So I have a possibility of free radicals here, 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 here and here. These two are same, so I don't have to worry. So this is 1 degree, this is 1 degree, this is 2 degree, this is 3 degree. So obviously a halogen substituting here is going to be a major product compared to here, compared to here. So this is the order in which free radical mechanism is going to go. That's one. Second thing that you can know is, free radical proceeds in the order fluorination much faster than chlorination, which is much faster than bromination, which is much faster than iodination. These three are exothermic, whereas iodination uniquely is endothermic. So iodination is going to be extremely tough. So fluorination is extremely exothermic, that you don't really do fluorination because it is actually vigorous and too fast. You don't do that. So this process is good for chlorination and bromination. Iodination can be done. It's a reversible process, endothermic reversible process. Endothermic is not a big deal. I can take care of the thermodynamic side, but it's a reversible process. So what you need to do, when you look at this, alkanes plus X2 is going to give you Rx plus Hx. This, in terms of chlorination is HCl, bromination HBr, iodination Hi. So if it's a reversible process, it will go back. If I can handle a way to use up this Hi, then it's going to be easy. For example, let's say for example, ethane plus I2. So the ethyl iodide plus Hi. You treat it with right away with HNO3 or HiO3, the Hi gets converted to I2. So I have removed what I wanted. Now that I have removed my Hi, I cannot have this reversible equilibrium going backwards. So basically we are using a Le Chatelet principle. So you want to remember this order. These three are exothermic, this is endothermic, and this is going to be extremely vigorous, that you don't do. You do chlorination and bromination through free radical. But the problem with free radical is twofold. You don't really get what product you want. If you want only here substitution, I cannot get it. So that's one. So you don't have the selectivity that you want with free radical. Second thing is, multiple halogenated derivative is possible. I can get it, for example, chlorination. I can get it chlorine here, here and here also. For example, monochloro I want, but I can get dichloro, trichloro. So multiple halogenation possible and selectivity is not there. This is a major problem with free radical mechanisms of alkanes with Hex2. But this is still useful in terms of industrial method, because in lab I want only one product, whereas in industry I can get everything, I can separate them based on distillation and ship them off separately. So industrially it's still a viable method. Now we have seen that chlorination and bromination are the important process. What happens with them is, when for example I take this with chlorination, I can get two types of products, chlorine here and chlorine here. So this is going to be obviously major product, minor product, but they are in the ratio close enough, 60-40, something like this. Whereas when you do bromination, I get the corresponding products, whereas in bromination case, this will be much larger, like 99%. The reason being, because bromination is slow, it has the time for the corresponding radical. For example, if this radical is formed, before the bromine can come and attack, it will rearrange. We have seen the rearrangement of carbocation and radical before in a different lecture. So bromination is slow, so by the time bromine comes, the radical can rearrange to a more stable carbon-free radical and the corresponding compound is formed. So hence bromination is called, you want to just remember this word, regioselective, meaning it selects the region that it wants to be. The region that the final where the bromine is going to be very, very selective. So bromination is much more regioselective, whereas chlorination is not regioselective because it's fast. Now if this is the case with chlorination, then you can imagine what happens with fluorination, extremely fast. We just saw the free radical chlorination, bromination or halogenation in general. There is one more free radical mechanism that can happen. This is called allylic bromination. It's a special reaction where when you have an allylic compound and you treat it with N-bromosuccinimide. It's a special reagent just for bromination, N-bromosuccinimide. So it is basically a derivative of succinic acid. And you convert it to corresponding amide and the nitrogen atom as a Br group. So when you do this, this undergoes allylic bromination to give you the corresponding Br. This is a standalone reaction you want to remember. Now this looks very simple, but it's just not easier when it is given in disguise. For example, I can take a compound like this and I can ask you to do reaction with N-bromosuccinimide. Obviously, we will get the Br over here because this is the allylic position. There are two positions, they are exactly same. So accordingly, you will get the corresponding allylic position. Now, the same compound can be modified this way. If we do this, then N-bromosuccinimide will give you the corresponding compound, but I have two allylic position right now. But this allylic free radical is not as stable as this one because it's not only allylic, it's a tertiary free radical. Hence, I will get the corresponding compound, this one, plus a minor product. So both of these are allylic substitutions. So this has done its job. It has done allylic substitution. But there are two competing radicals. So over here or over here. So this one will give you the second product. This one will give you the first product. So you want to remember allylic bromination, just the word NBS or N-bromosuccinimide. It will give you the corresponding allylic substituted product. Moving on from free radical mechanism, next we can see is electrophilic addition reaction, which actually as a matter of fact we saw in your alkenes and alkynes. So when you have your alkene and alkyne, so let's take an alkene plus the corresponding HX. Your first step is going to be addition of H plus, formation of a carbocation, and then addition of X minus to add the corresponding X over here. Okay, this is a synthesis of alkyl halide. We have seen this in your alkene hydrocarbon lecture. You can go back and see, we have done many examples over there. I am just going to give you the template over here. Now what we have seen there is it proceeds through addition of H plus. So it's an electrophile. and I'm adding to a double bond. So it's addition reaction, electrophilic addition reaction. So now I have added an electrophilic addition reaction, but one thing you want to be sure is the moment you form a carbocation, you are going to end up with forming a more stable carbocation, that is a given. Now I can also have an alkene plus HX, we have already seen this. If I add one molecule, I'll end up with HNX. I add one more HX, I'll end up with this. Again, the X atoms, both of them are attached to the same carbon because we go through addition of an electrophile, formation of a more stable carbocation. Same thing happens over here as well. Markovnikov addition just 2 times. Now here there is a peculiar property where instead of HX, if we use HBr, same compounds will be there, except with HBr we also have seen in our hydrocarbon lecture it is there, peroxide effect. If you do peroxide, you get the anti-Markovnikov product. Here I want to say that the reactivity order is going to be here HI stronger than HBr, stronger than HCl, stronger than HF. Strength of the acid, the tendency to give the H plus, it's much higher. So it is going to be HI stronger than HBr, stronger than HCl, stronger than HF. HF usually doesn't undergo this easily, whereas HI goes really fast. So kinetic side also it is much faster. The next method of synthesis for an alkyl halide is through nucleophilic substitution reaction, and the first reaction, as a matter of fact, most of you already knows. It's basically treating an alcohol with Lucas reagent. Now here if you see, you can use any hydrogen halide HX with zinc chloride with a corresponding alcohol, you get the corresponding alkyl halide. The reactivity order for this reaction is going to be HI, the strongest among the acid among them, stronger than HBr or faster than HBr, which is faster than HCl. And the reactivity order is going to be a tertiary alcohol greater than secondary alcohol greater than primary alcohol. This is used for tests for alcohols. If the given alcohol is a 1 degree alcohol, the corresponding alkyl halide, which is not all that soluble, gives you turbidity in 30 minutes, whereas a 2 degree alcohol gives a turbidity in 5 minutes, whereas a 3 degree alcohol gives a turbidity in less than 1 minute. So this gives you not only a way to synthesize the alkyl halide, but also to figure out what type of alcohol is present, 3 degree versus 2 degree versus 1 degree. So now we just saw that alcohols can be converted into alkyl halides using Lucas reagent. The next synthesis is also pretty similar. It's also a nucleophilic substitution reaction. You can use alcohols with corresponding chlorinating agent like PCl3 or PCl5 or SOCl2. Now when you see PCl3 and PCl5, it is much simpler. It's a chlorinating agent and the corresponding products you want to remember. But the most important reaction here is actually with your SOCl2, thionyl chloride, because the corresponding products formed is your alkyl halide plus SO2 plus HX. Why this is important is your alkyl halide is a liquid, whereas your SO2 and HCl are gas. So these two are gas phase products, so they can be easily removed from your corresponding alkyl halide, so you get a pure halide. It's an important reaction. It comes many times in NEET. In A gives you B, B gives you D, C gives you D type of reactions. And SOCl2 has only one purpose that you're going to see in your curriculum. It's only as a chlorinating agent. So it is extremely straightforward. The next way to synthesize your alkyl halide is Borodin-Hunstedter reaction, or more commonly Hunstedter reaction. This is strictly not a NEET syllabus, but it has come in JEE main, so it is good for you to just look at it as a glance. Now here is the given reaction of Hunstedter reaction. If you see here, you have your silver salt or carboxylic acid treated with Br2 and CCl4, you get the corresponding RBr plus CO2 plus AgBr. AgBr will give you a precipitate. Now here I have gone from RCOO, meaning R plus 1 carbon, to R, meaning 1 carbon less. So it's an example of a decarboxylation reaction and also an halogenation reaction. So now we have seen how to synthesize your alkyl halides through free radical reaction. But free radical mechanism, fluorination was very fast and iodination is extremely slow and reversible. So bromination and chlorination are always easier. You can do allylic substitution for chlorination and bromination, so it's easier. So how do you get your corresponding fluoroalkanes and iodoalkanes? There are two specific reactions that are standalone reactions that are extremely good to synthesize. The first one is going to be your Finkelstein reaction for synthesis of alkyl iodide. Now here you can take your chloroalkane and convert it into corresponding iodoalkane. You can also use bromoalkane here. Chloro works much better. Now when you use the corresponding iodinating agent NaI, you change chlorine for iodine. But what happens? Why does this reaction go forward is, right below the arrow you have your acetone. What acetone does is, it actually is used as a solvent that solubilizes your NaI, but NaCl is less soluble because NaCl is much more ionic. Because acetone is not an ionic solvent, NaCl is not soluble, so it precipitates out. So it's an equilibrium reaction, but I'm removing one of the product, so the reaction goes forward. And we are using Le Chatelet principle here to synthesize the alkyl iodide of our choice. Now if you see here, this is a substitution reaction where I minus is going to attack the carbon and Cl is going to go away. It's an SN2 reaction. When it comes to fluorination, we can use a different reaction called Schwarz reaction, where an alkyl chloride treated with a metal fluoride, and these are the metal fluorides that are possible that we can use. You are going to replace your fluoride for your chloride. Straightforward reaction. Also this is as a SN2 reaction. Very simple because you don't see any other metal fluorides in any other reaction in organic chemistry in your syllabus, so you cannot confuse that it's a Schwarz reaction.